So here we are on the start line. This is one of those days when nothing goes quite according to plan. So 8 seconds to go here, and if you look in the left hand side, you'll see that Rafa Nunez is getting no power whatsoever. And there's the start, and Rafa doesn't move. So we all realise this because we're talking to each other over Discord. I've stopped pedalling, and you'll see, I think somebody else, Bavesh, stops pedalling a little bit up the road. Everybody else slows down and gives up. By this time, we're all saying, look, hang on, let's start again in 20 minutes. So we all stop, go back to the drawing board, and create a new race. So we're all going to start again in 20 minutes time. So this is rather frustrating because this is now eating into our evening, but nevertheless we haven't expended too much energy, so it's all repairable, shall we say. So park up and burn that one and start again. Here we are 20 minutes later. So all bright and breezy, fresh and easy, except for Gautam Thakkar hasn't got any power now. So we've got Rafa back on board, but no Gautam. 28 seconds to go. Everybody's screaming instructions at Gautam, as if he doesn't know what to do, because he's quite au fait with all of this, and he's a techie guy, so he knows what he's doing, but he can't get it. And all of a sudden, bang! Just as I'm about to set up a new race, Gautam gets loaded, and I switch off the settings for the new race, as I was about to do, and off we go. So, we're off. Rafa with a little bit of a slow start there. I was faffing around. I was a bit caught out because, as I say, I was going into setting up a new race for 15 minutes time. Took my eye off the ball, got a little bit dropped here, and had to fight my way back on just as everybody decided to do 42, 43, which meant I had to go even faster than that to catch up, which was slightly hard work. And I have to say, once you do get dropped like that, a catch up like that, and there we are. So I finally catch up and sit in the group, which was a great relief because my legs were already burning by them, and I wasn't really ready to go on the front at this stage. But look, nice little line there. So now this is a 25-kilometre race, time trial, team time trial. It's fairly flat. It's based up in Kings Lynn. If you know anywhere in the UK, you'll know that. Well, everybody will tell you Norfolk's flat. That's not strictly true, but certainly to the west of Kings Lynn it is very flat. It's Fenland, it's like the Netherlands, it's drained land that's quite often below sea level, so you get very, very flat land. The one thing this TT won't give you, if you actually ride up there, and any local will tell you, because it's so flat and it's on the North Sea, in real life you get very, very strong winds, and the land there doesn't have many trees and hedges, which doesn't protect it. It doesn't have any hills to break up the wind, so you can get some very, 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 very strong headwinds. Now both Gautam Thakkar and I have actually ridden up in Kings Lynn and around there this very year. I've ridden up there quite a few times, and I can tell you, if you are solo into those winds, it can be very, very difficult. Now at this stage in the evolution of online racing, we don't have headwinds as an option. I do believe that this is something you will be able to factor into races going forward. I'm sure RGT will do it, but one platform or another will introduce headwinds at some point. I can almost promise you. It's inevitable, isn't it? If you can build in resistance for hills, you must be able to build in resistance for wind. So I guess if a race organiser sets a westerly wind or something like that, and every time the course goes west you'll hit a headwind, and you'll feel the resistance, I guess. So I'm sure that's coming. I'm sure RGT have got plans for that at some point. I don't know, this is not inside knowledge, it's just that it seems an obvious development for me. And this would be the ideal course to build in headwinds, because Kings Lynn, and certainly to the west of it, you will get strong headwinds. The locals around there actually have a saying that you get 270-degree winds on the fens. The area is called the fens, and the locals say you get 270-degree winds, and they're everywhere except for behind you. I can tell you I have ridden with a wind behind me in the fens, but it is very, very difficult if you've got a strong side wind or headwind. So no suffering from that here. We're 2.1 kilometres in, still nicely as a group. 25k is reasonably long for one of these. I think I'm correct in saying they probably range from somewhere between 16 kilometres up to maybe 30, but certainly 25. But this is the longer end of these sorts of things. Compensation there is because it's a flat course, and as I say, you're not going to suffer wind, so you only get the flatness. So this is quite nice. Going along 38 kph, which is probably about right. Apologies for the little ping interruption. That denotes a goal in a football match. One of my apps on my phone sitting next to the computer. I'll write to the manager and tell the team not to score next time I'm recording a commentary. Nevertheless, here we are, 2.69 kilometres into this 25k ride. We've still got 5 riders together, which is great, and the formation's quite good. I mean, I think we're getting a bit better at this in West London VR. Certainly fairly tight, and the switchovers on the front are getting a little bit tighter. I think VR1 team are slightly slicker at this than VR2 team, but it has to be said, the VR2 team are getting good at it. So tonight's lineup, we've got Rafa Nunez from Ecuador, but based in the UK, of course. Gautam Thakkar, UK. Dave Morrison, that's me, UK. Bhavesh Mistry from the UK. And again, Styx 1664, which is not an advert for Cronenberg, it's actually Martin Brown. And Martin Brown based down in Plymouth, originally from Stoke. I think we're not all actually necessarily native to where we live at the moment, but I won't go into everybody's background. So, predominantly British team today, and we do mix it up. We have riders from across the globe taking part in all races, as does RGT Wahoo generally. So, quite an international community. I think it has become quite popular in the UK though, so I think there's a lot to be said. And Denmark seems to be embracing it very much so as well. So, you see speeds here around 36, 37. I think in a shorter TT we'd probably be going faster than this. Is up to 41, 42 now on the front. Bhavesh Mistry taking a turn. The 3 we'd expect across the line first are definitely Martin Brown, that Styx on there, Gautam Thakkar and Rafa Nunez. The other 2 of us certainly there for the first half, or as long as we can stay on, and to help the team, but ultimately the other 3 will go on, and that's, if not a plan, it's a kind of perceived reality of what is likely to happen. So Bhavesh putting in his turns on the front. I'm afraid I'm slacking a little bit, and you can see I think I'm a little bit focused on perhaps doing the recording of this, and I do find myself sometimes focusing on the recording and suddenly slipping off the back. No problems at the moment. I'm nicely in second place, but I have to say that I do keep sort of find myself sort of 3-4 metres off the back, having to accelerate to get back on, and I think I am burning matches in doing so. And you see me slipping back a little bit at the moment there, reviving it and just making sure I stay in. Rafa doesn't seem to have the same problem. He can slip off the back and catch up without burning matches, I think is fair to say, and there he does it again. He tells me there's a slight delay on his machine which causes it, but he's certainly strong enough to catch up, so that's great. Gautam, or GT as we call him, and Martin Brown taking turns on the front here. Fairly steady. I mean, it's 36, 37. We do ride faster than this, but as I say, with 25k to go, I think this is probably about right for the sort of course it is. We shall see. I mean, we'll see what everybody else's times are. You can only judge yourself when you see everybody else's. So expectations here, probably for something between 36 and 40 minutes, I would guess, depending on how it all goes. I did ride the course just before, and you can see at the bottom there, the profile is all green. There's not really any orange or anything like that, there's any steep climbs. I think at one point it went up to 2.5%. But you can see sort of niggly little ups and downs in the second half of the course, which I think put pressure on your pedals and could, I suppose if you've got a rider with very, very tired legs, they could affect it. But I don't think it's too much of an issue. I think I would regard this as a flat course and ignore the little bumps that you can see across the bottom, particularly in the second half. As I say, they're slightly niggly. stop you going as fast as you'd like, but they're not really going to slow a group up. It might, as I say, just affect somebody with very tired legs who drops off the back. And by now I'm probably fit into that category. Struggling with the catch-ups a little bit. I've lasted 6 kilometres out of the 25 so far. Now I would expect to probably go about halfway in a 10 miler. So I'm hoping to do a little bit better than that, but myself and Bavesh are not really expecting to be there at the finish in the front three. The front three, as you see them now, are the key players, as Bavesh and myself do another little catch-up. And this burns matches all the time, these catch-ups, because remember, if you're doing a catch-up, then you are riding faster than the guy actually on the front, but you're not towing anybody, although Bavesh and I were towing each other at various points in that little catch-up, of course. Nevertheless, we've tucked ourselves nicely in the group with Gautam. A little bit of a gap appearing there, nothing too big. Bavesh closing it for us. Gautam going around me. 6.19 kilometres done. Still nicely bunched and no complaints for the team at this time. Other than maybe we're going a little bit slower than we used to. Sort of 38.39 now rather than 40. Martin put some time on the front. He wants to speed it up a little bit, I suspect. But he's created a little bit of a gap, 7 metres back. I mean, it's great if you can do a big turn on the front, but if you leave a gap, then you're towing nobody. Nobody's getting the benefits of your efforts. So that needs to be closed. It's Gautam who does it, and that's nicely done. All the others just sneaking up. There's Bavesh coming in, Rafa and myself in a little bit of trouble. Because that little catch-up, that little push on the front caught me out. I lost a couple of metres while I was messing around with the settings to do the recording. Fought very, very hard, and I was riding like mad. You can see me going into the red at the bottom there, and I was like riding like mad trying to catch up, and just didn't really seem to eat into the distance. And after a little while, I was beginning to realise that I was running out of power, and I think about now probably just got to the stage where I sat up and decided I wasn't going to make it back. They're only doing 36 on the front. I mean, I probably could have made that up at some point, but as I say, I burnt a match in the early stages when Martin went off the front, and I was never really going to have the energy to fight my way back. So I sat up, watched the other guys finish, carried on with filming, and you can see already they've gapped me by over 70 metres. So this is the point where I sit up. So we're relying on 4 riders now, and as I said earlier, 3 at the front now, well not 3 at the front, sorry, the 2 at the front plus Rafa at the back are going to be our mainstay, and certainly in the second half we'd expect them to go off and finish the job. But Bavesh doing really, really well, taking turns on the front here. Look, he's not shying away from it. They're going up a bit of a hill now, so it's slowed down a little bit, but look at Bavesh towing them up. It's downhill now. But yeah, he's doing absolutely fine. I mean, this is the game plan that between us we'd be in there to sort of create a little bit more draft, because it's always easier with 4 or 5 riders than it is with 3. And Bavesh certainly doing some work there to help the others. Up to 7.8 kilometres. So I've dropped off about a third of the way through the ride, which I wasn't overly happy about. I mean, I was hoping to stay on a little bit longer than that. Again, it comes back to one of those little sort of moments where I miss a wheel, and then somebody on the front's going quite fast, and with all the efforts, I'm not going to catch up because the front pace is too fast for a catch up. I think what I was doing, I was just holding it at first. I think I went sort of quite a way, just holding the gap but not making any inroads to it. So in the end, that just burnt a lot of matches, whereas I should have been in that group soaking up a draft. Martin going off the front again, and again he's created that little bit of a gap, which is fine, but nobody's getting the benefit of the draft. Do they catch up? Somewhere between the two, they've got to speed up a little bit and catch him, but he needs to sort of just ease off that little bit to let them get there without easing off so much that they all go flying past. Now they've got back into a nice little line, the front 3, but again that pace now 41, just beginning to burn for Bavesh, who's done quite a bit of work on the front and has really been doing well. Now we have to say that Bavesh nearly didn't turn up. He's had a little bit of illness lately, and isn't feeling really up to it. So it was due, you know, it was 50-50 whether he'd turn up, and we talked him into it, you know, team member, all that sort of thing, you know. And he very, very gallantly turned up and joined us. But you can see it's just beginning to tell. That gap's stretched out again now. You know, he's got that sort of, I don't know, 10-metre gap perhaps, just between him and the rest of them. And it's just beginning to sort of be a bit of a grind to get on. They've eased up a little bit, letting him back on. He's fighting away to get back on. Fantastic. Great effort, Bavesh. He's really put in a lot. He's done turns on the front. He's done catch-ups. He's done the lot tonight. And he really has contributed fantastically to the team. We're about 9.125 kilometres through. We've still got 15-16 kilometres to go. So there's a lot to go. I would expect Bavesh to hold on till about halfway. So we're looking at probably about another 2 or 3 kilometres before the other 3 speed off. And don't forget, the second half is not hilly, but there's a little bit, you know, a few more ramps and things like that. And if you're not careful on one of those little uphills, somebody not paying attention can lose the wheel and drop off. But here we go, Bavesh up the front again, not quite, but Gautam just holding the front wheel. But Bavesh totally in the mix there, and this is a guy who nearly didn't turn up because he was feeling not great after his illness. But again, that little gap there, so he's got to fight to get on. This is hard work, and it's just getting you back on rather than towing anybody. The real hard work should be the guy in the front, but Bavesh does it again. He's absolutely, he's riding like a soldier today, isn't he? But again, he gets back on, and that speed as he rests up, as he gets on the wheel, just eases off a little bit, eases off too much, and then loses the wheel. So then it's another fight back on just to catch the wheel. Now, if he eases up again, he's going to be in trouble. But he nicely gets in between Gautam and Rafa, so that should be good. But as they go around the bend, he finds himself on the back again. This is difficult. The gap appears once again as Martin goes off the front at a great pace. This is going to be hard for Rafa. Gautam and Bavesh. Rafa and Gautam stay with Martin. That gap is now increasing. It's about 20 metres, I would guess. That is going to be difficult. And at that point, Bavesh says, "That's your lot, guys." So he lasted 10, so about 2/5 of it. I lasted a third. Bavesh 2/5 of it. Now, if this was a 16k ride, that would be over half the ride with 4 riders. But now we're down to the last 3, and these guys got to stick together, make sure the third fastest rider gets over the line. So however good you're feeling, it's about towing the weakest rider out of the 3. Now, I would say that these 3 are fairly evenly matched, and it's really about finding something they're all comfortable with and riding together as a team. And that's what they've got to do to the finish. So they're riding at 39 now. They haven't got Bavesh and myself, which means that they can actually put the gas down a little bit more and not worry too much. Rafa now putting it down a bit hard and creating a gap. And Gautam's in trouble. Gautam's in trouble. There's no kilowatts coming out. Oh no, this is a big time problem. You can see his legs aren't moving on the avatar. Gautam has had a mechanical. This is a big problem now. Bavesh goes by. This is a big problem. The third rider's time counts in this. Gautam's out of it, so our top 3 are not all together. Bavesh is now a long way behind the front 2, and there's no point them tearing off because it's only his time that's going to count now. The other 2 need to wait for Bavesh. So at this point, you can imagine the discussions on Discord, and I can remember shouting out to the front 2 that they need to slow down, they need to slow down, they need to get Bavesh onto their wheel and tow him to the finish, because you need 3 riders to finish. If they don't, it's going to be Bavesh's solo time that's going to count, unless GT can get back. Now, if GT can't get back, what happens next? It's going to be about these 3. How big is the gap? Will they wait? It's about 50 metres or something like that, isn't it? So they're going to have to slow down. You can see them in front there, so it's not insurmountable. Bavesh can get on, but how much has he got left? Because he's actually done so many turns on the front, So many catch-ups. And let's face it, Gotem's still stuck there. Absolutely nothing happening. I've overtaken Gotem by now, so that puts me in 4th position. But see now that Bavesh is getting very, very close to the other two. Let's see, another ping there. I don't know if you can hear that on the commentary, but that denotes the end of the match. That should be the last of the pings. So Rafa just waiting for Bavesh to get on now. They've got to tow Bavesh to the finish. This is going to be our time. Whatever they do, and getting Bavesh to the finish is going to be our time. So it is going to be a time that we weren't expecting, and it's going to take a stellar effort from these 3 guys to make anything happen now. We've got to rescue the situation. No point giving up. You're better off finishing last and picking up 1 point for riding than abandoning and getting 0 points. You don't know for certain. You might even find that one of the other teams has problems, and you don't finish as badly down the list as you might think. But they've got to get together. These gaps, they need to get together. It has to be all 3 together. They're in a nice line, but the gaps are too big. It needs to get together, and you've got to ride at Bavesh's best speed when he's in the draft. Now they've got halfway through, so all this has happened before halfway through. 12.5 kilometres to go, with basically Martin and Rafa nursing Bavesh to the finish. Bavesh probably absolutely tongue sort of hanging out and touching the floor, I should imagine by now. He put in such an effort because we'd all agreed that him and I would burn ourselves out in the first half. So he's burnt himself out and now finds that he's got to actually take on a lead role here. I don't think Bavesh will be venturing on the front of this group. It's going to be between the other 2, which puts a burden on the other 2. They should be doing a third of the riding in the second half, but they're each going to do half of the riding on the front in the second half. So we now have a big problem. What do we do about it? Now, at first there was a discussion here about, well, maybe we should do this again. We're not going to get our greatest time. What should we do? Should we carry on? Is everybody available some other time in the week? Not necessarily. And all sorts of discussions going around. Poor old Bavesh not contributing too much to that because he's probably panting away. But we decided anyway at this point that we would carry on and see what we did. So I think it's fair to say that whatever time we do end up with is not going to be what we would have wished for at the beginning, but it will be a major achievement given all the problems we've had. So Rafa now on the front, Martin and Bavesh sitting behind. As I say, Bavesh is unlikely to do a turn on the front now. We'll have to see what happens. And between the other 2, 38.39, not bad. I mean, that's I'm probably sure that Martin's itching to go a bit faster than this, but I think we have to accept there's no point tearing away and leaving gaps for poor old Bavesh to just have to chase and tire himself out even more. So, coming back from illness, he's put in a very responsible position. I think there's taking one for the team. This is not taking one for the team. This is doing one for the team, isn't it? I mean, this is where you get a gallantry award, I think. It's absolutely phenomenal. Got that little bit of a gap again, just a little bit too fast on the front. We're going to have to sort of tone this down. Rafa just sort of getting in front of Bavesh to give him that little bit of a cushion as Martin slows down to wait for them. So down at 32.33, slight gradient of course, but it's which is understandable. We'll accept this, but they're still together, which is great, absolutely great. So about 11 kilometres to go. It's still a long way off, isn't it? And it probably seems a lot further to Bavesh than it does to the other 2 right now. Bavesh just off the back again. I mean, it's very easy when you're riding on the front to go at a pace you feel comfortable with and kind of hope that everybody else can keep with you. But if you have got a rider that can't, and that rider is going to be your third rider across the line, you have to wait. And these gaps are too big. You'll be more efficient just to keep to a speed that Bavesh is pushing himself but not killing himself to do. The gap again too big. They need to close that. They need to be efficient about this. You know, as I say, it might be frustrating if you're a faster rider, but your job is not to go fast anymore. It is to get your third rider over the line. So Martin slowing up a little bit, letting the others catch up, pulling the team together. This is what you need to do. It's teamwork. It's all about teamwork now. Rafa towing Bavesh. They get it back together. This is great. Communication is all about let's get back together at this moment. You kind of need to be very cognizant of your teammates to the point like this. You can't, as I say, it's frustrating for the slow rider, it's frustrating for the fast rider, but at the end of the day, this is a team time trial, it's not an individual time trial, and you have to work together. And in fact, the camaraderie in these competitions, I mean, I'm sure all the guys from all the other teams will tell you, you've probably never met some of the people you were riding with, but you're all best mates on Discord, and it is quite a social affair, you know. I mean, I think these are fantastic. You know, it's probably, you know, because you're working together as well, you're constantly communicating, much more so than you probably would be on, well, maybe if you're riding for a team that's working together on RGT, Wahoo RGT, you might communicate quite a lot. But with this, you know, there's nobody else on that course. It's just you guys and you guys alone that are dictating what's happening. So, Bavesh still neatly on, under 10k. Psychologically, I think getting under 10k and probably getting under 5k are quite big moments psychologically if you're struggling in one of these, because suddenly it's not far to the end. I can do this. There's no daunting distance with those thighs absolutely killing you with pain. You can sort of see the end in sight, and there's an achievement, you know, there's a kind of feeling, well, I've done the most of it and all the rest of it. So now, Gautam's got going again, so he's got quite a way to catch up with myself, and I wasn't quite sure what to do here, but it did occur to me that if we could get the two of us together, then we could both benefit from working together, and if there were any more blips and anybody else dropped out, then one of us, presumably Gautam, could get back into this 3. Now, looking at the gap, we're over a kilometre behind the others. We are probably not going to make up a kilometre over 10 kilometres. It's about 9 kilometres, to be honest, because we've got to ride 10% faster than the guys on the front, which would mean if they're riding 40, we've got to ride 44. We're not going to ride 4 kph faster than these guys. There's only 2 of us, and I certainly don't tend to ride at 44 kph for 9 miles, so you can't expect too much. So Gautam's sort of like now chasing. I wouldn't quite say I sat up, but I semi-sat up to wait and see if he could catch me, and when I realised that he was going to, I definitely sat up and let him catch me so that we could work together. So you can see that distance closing down. You can't quite see me from Gautam's perspective at this moment, but you can see the gap's only 80 metres. So I'm going to appear on your screens very, very soon. I think there's a little bit of a glint there, and then my name comes up. So you can see the distance that Gautam's got to catch me up before we can work together. As I say, knowing that he was coming, I did sit up so that we could get together, and you can see that gap coming down rapidly as a result. Now, I wasn't quite clear whether Gautam was going to sort of fly past me and chase the others, or whether it suited him to sit on my wheel for a little while. But as he caught me, I did actually put a bit more effort in just to see if we could ride together, and I think that suited Gautam because he didn't have to slow down too much. So here we go, here's the juncture, and our speeds are going to be something like 34, 35 I think. Gautam goes past me, but I think I was still accelerating at that point, so we're doing sort of 34, which is probably a little bit slower than we really ought to be going. So I'll get on the front here, take it up to 38, 39, which is comfortable for me. I'm not a plus 40 rider per se, but there we are, I'm doing 41 there, so I can actually do it. Drops back a little bit at 36 as the gradient changes, chops and changes a little bit, but we're riding away now 37.38, so we're not going to catch. We're 1.2 kilometres down by now. We are not going to catch that in 7.5 kilometres. So there's no chance of us doing anything spectacular. We are going to push away because, as I say, as we've seen in this race, you need to keep going. When you drop out, one of the kind of unofficial rules we have, if there is such a thing as an unofficial rule, is that when you do get dropped, you just carry on riding just in case somebody drops off. And that's exactly what happened here today. So that policy's really paid off for us in the sense that our third rider is with the front three. If Bavish had sort of switched off and packed up by now, you'd be looking at a 1.2 kilometre gap where the front two have got to wait for Gautam. So it's worked well for us. Poor old Bavish is probably suffering like mad, but he knows that he's got to do it for the team. And I think you can tell what a team player he is. He's going beyond what he would expect to do. Okay, Rafa and Martin have had to ride a little bit slower than they probably want to, and they probably feel this is a bit easy, but they're doing a job. Everybody's working for the team here. It's a team game. It's not about the individual. And I think, they're doing a wonderful job here. They've got this about right, 36 to 38 sort of fluctuating speeds, which allows, Bavish to stay with them and not have to exert too much effort. But they're in with a shout. As I say, we have to start thinking about what sort of time we might do. Now, I'd probably have been looking for something around 37, I don't know. One doesn't really know till you do it, and we have different teams every week. Not everybody's available on every night. So you can't even look at the team and say, well, we did this last week, it should be that this week. It really does depend a little bit on the course, although this one's not going to be too difficult. And it's also going to be about who's available and who's having who's got good legs on that night. Now, whether or not we had good legs, we didn't have good electronics here because we had all these dropouts. Now, the gap is sticking at about 1.2 kilometres. So you can see that Gautam and myself are really matching the guys up front. They're doing 39 here, which is fine. We'd expect the sort of strongest group. If we had 4 strong riders on, we'd expect to be doing over 40. We're just touching 40 here. So we're kind of below what we target, but when you look at the circumstances, if I do the analogies, it's a football team playing with 10 men. If we can come away with a draw, carrying on the football analogy here, if you've got 10 men and you get a draw and don't lose, that's great. And I think that's what we're doing here. We're just getting the best time we can, pick up what points we can get, and just have to accept that it doesn't always go your way. And of course the other teams have all the same problems. You can't get your best rider one week, and you only had 3 riders one week and 6 riders the next. Somebody has a technical. It happens, and it's there for all the teams, so we can't complain. Sometimes we benefit from other people's misfortune. This week other teams will benefit from our misfortunes. That's the name of the game, and it's what makes it exciting, isn't it? We love it, really, don't we? So we're into the last, we're just coming down to the last 5, and I'm sure if Bavish thinks like me, you hit that 5 kilometre mark, and it's suddenly, this is the home stretch. And I'm pretty sure, if I remember rightly, Martin shouting out at this point, just the last 5 to go now. You suddenly get your spirits up. You can burn matches because it doesn't really matter. You're going to get over the line anyway. Now you're going to finish, barring a mechanical. So you can burn a little bit of energy here and try and put a bit of effort in. And you can see now they're sort of kind of upping that pace to 40 a bit more often. I think Bavish knows that whatever pain he's in is not going to last for too much longer, and will endure it and put a bit of effort in. So the speed's sort of doing quite nicely, and you can tell because what's happened is Gautam and myself are now 1.4 kilometres behind. We're no longer holding that gap, and I think we're sort of semi-resigned at this point that we're actually not going to close that gap and what have you. So perhaps we're not chasing the hardest, but we weren't necessarily soft pedaling either, somewhere between the two. but the gap's coming out, which is great for the front three. It shows they're putting a bit of effort in. The speed just dropped a little bit there, but they're hitting a little bit of a slope. It's not much, but it's there. You can, as I say, this second half of this course was a little bit undulating, but it wasn't steep at any point, so it's more than manageable. A little bit of a gap between Martin and Rafa again. I don't think it's too bad, only 6 metres. And it's getting closed up. Rafa just towing Bavesh once again onto Martin's wheel. I think Martin was very keen to drive the speed here, and poor old Bavesh was probably cursing. I didn't hear him cursing over Discord, but although he's obviously feeling a bit fresh because he slipped into the gap between Martin and Rafa there. But it's kind of great, isn't it? The teamwork. You can see Martin wants to drive the pace as much as he can without, killing everybody. Rafa's the caring guy who's sort of nursing Bavesh along, and Bavesh is the poor wounded soldier that's being carried along by the rest of the troop as they go on their mission. And it's nice. This is proper teamwork. It's proper teamwork. It's the driving force, the managing the expectations by Rafa, and the sheer and utter bravery of Bavesh to go well beyond his normal position in this team. So we were quite thrilled and very. The messages afterwards for Bavesh. We couldn't give him strong enough accolades. It's just, it's not about the winning. It's really about who went above and beyond. And there is no doubt that Bavesh went above and beyond. He was absolutely killing himself to stay with these two. And it's getting 37.38, so reasonable speed. And you can see by comparison, it's 37.38 for myself and Gotham here. 30, just picking it up to 39 a little bit there, taking turns on the front between us. But of course, the gap is still quite big at 1.4 kilometres. We're probably holding it again now. Speed fluctuating a little bit there, but we are, I think, holding the gap. So to speak, but it's really about these three. Whatever Gautam and myself were up to, it's about these three and what they can do. Just coming down to the last 2 kilometres, and you just know at this point that you're going to finish, and the time there just coming up to 36 minutes. So we're probably looking at something around the 40-minute mark to finish this. Hopefully a bit better than that, maybe 39. So if we can get 39 at the finish, which would probably have been a 37 or 38 if we hadn't had all the problems, and we've certainly got a few riders away this week, so we didn't necessarily have as many strong riders in Team 2 as we want. We put everybody into Team 1, so Team 1 got a full quota of 6 lined up for their race. We had 5, including myself and Bavesh, in Team 2. So a 4th strong rider in Team 2 would have been a little bit better. We might have been looking at 37, but we're realistically, I think, going to hit 40 here. Well, I'll say 37. It might have been 37 or 38. But we're going to hit 40 here, so we're going to be a couple of minutes down. It's going to cost us places in the league, but we will still pick up points for finishing, as I said earlier. So we come down, just 2 kilometres to go, speed at 38, and as I say, what have you got left in the tank now? You can start thinking about letting some of it go. One of the things is 2 kilometres is quite a long way out. You see this in pro races, and you certainly see it on RGT Wahoo, where somebody goes at, say, 500 metres to go, and they absolutely power out, and they sort of fade at 300 metres. As the top sprinters in the world will tell you, you can only hold that maximum threshold for so long. And the great sprinters can hold it sort of longer and more powerfully than most other people, but there is a limit. And as I say, if you watch pro racing, you will see that some sprinters just can't quite hold the last bit because everything's been spent, because they maybe went 20 metres too early or something. So you've got to really judge how you feel. And at the moment, this point was like, well, how fast do we go? And Bavesh is, well, I feel great, but I think there was a consensus that, but 1.3's probably a little bit too early to sort of give it your all for the finish. 37 kph. Again, you know, we'd expect this to be a little bit faster at this stage of the race, but we're on a longer course, working under conditions that we hadn't really envisaged, which is not having our strongest riders on the front. So we're quite happy with that. 38 kph as we head into the last kilometre. Now, there's no point going really fast and leaving Bavish behind. The idea is to go as fast as Bavish can and sit in front of him to make sure that that's quite an efficient sprint. Now Bavish is feeling a little bit perky here, gets in front of Rafa, just showing that he has actually got some fuel in the tank to burn, and he pushes up and he's doing 40 now to catch up with Martin. This is good actually. Bavish showing that there's more in the tank than perhaps we gave him credit for, and absolutely doing one for the team. 41.42. You can see the speed it's going up. They're into that last 600 metres now. As I say, this is quite early to go, but they're keeping the speed over 40. Just as I say that, it goes down to 39, but back up to 40 now. These are the sort of speeds they want to do, but Bavish's little sprint there has probably cost him a little bit. A small gap opens up. He's got to push to get back on. 38, 39 sort of speeds. They go around some bends. Not sure that the braking was too much on that, but the bend will slow you down. 38 kph. This is not sprint finish speeds, but they are very slightly going uphill, so don't expect too much here. Bavish again fighting his way back on. He goes past Rafa. He's in front of Martin with just 160, 150 metres to go. We can see the finishing line. Bavish absolutely powering now, 44 kph. What a star. The three of them coming side by side at the finish, and Bavish Mystery first over the line. Well, if ever there was deserving winner, it was Bavish Mystery, wasn't it? Absolutely superb. So that was going to be our time, and that's what we had to kind of accept, the sort of 39-40 minute mark. And the other two still riding home. This is me, 40 kph, just giving Gautam a little bit of a tow. He'll go on the front in a moment. There he goes. That's his turn. So we're not riding too slow, but of course this was Kremlin's night, wasn't it? So we've, if you remember, Rafa had a drop out in our first attempt to race this. Gautam had a drop out at the start, then halfway through the race, and it was my turn. Well, I didn't get a drop out. Something strange happened, that the screen went up, and I got some message from RGT, and I completely lost sight of what was going on. So this recording is going to stop when that happens. It was only about 300 metres from the line. I had no idea, sitting at home, whether or not I'd been completely dropped out of the race or not, because I couldn't see anything of it. The others told me I was still in it, so I kept pedalling and did finish the last 300 metres and got to the finishing line, and I did actually get the picture back eventually, but I certainly rode the last 300 metres with no screen, not knowing whether I was actually still in the race or not, other than when it was confirmed by the others. So with 700 metres to go, you know what's going to happen next. All of a sudden, in 400 metres time, you're not going to see any more of this race. Gautam taking a turn on the front, 37 kph, and as I say, there's no pressure on us to finish in a good time at this point. We're just riding out for a bit of training as I ease up and then decide not to take a turn on the front, or either that or Gautam didn't want me to go on the front. But certainly the two of us easing in now at 34 kph. I don't think at this point I was too worried about the time. It was there's nothing to race the M for. 388 metres to go, and bang, the picture went. I did get it back right at the end. I mean, after I'd finished, I did manage to get his picture, so you can see the times on there. And you can see that the third over the line was 40.07. So that's a time, a disappointing time compared to what we would have expected, but given the circumstances, a great result. Hope you enjoyed it. See you soon.